What's up, fam? Dr. O here. So, look, over the last week, I'm gonna keep it real. I've been on break from school and everything, so I've been getting it in on some shows and some movies and stuff. So, finished show Cross. Full disclosure, there's gonna be spoilers here, so just know that before. Anyway, I finished Cross on Amazon, and then over the weekend, the family saw Moana 2 as well as Wicked. And there were so many things that I felt like, both movies did, really well. But I'm just going to be honest. When I go into movies, when I watch television and the like, and I'll get to Cross later, uh, I look for black representation. I look for how all types of black people are represented. And to be clear, I look at how all types of groups are being represented positively or negatively, white, Asian, Latino, indigenous, so on and so forth. But I start with me because that's where my most experiences are. I talk about this in my book Lies About Black People. I have a whole history of the role of black people in media. And so I was disappointed in both movies. I was really disappointed. Let's start with Wicked. So when you look at Wicked, I didn't see any black males that had any prominent roles as part of the cast. One of the things I did appreciate in the movie was the black people that they had in the background. Great diversity of black people. I love seeing all of the natural hairstyles. I thought that was really beautiful. And of course, people were involved in the singing and the dancing and things like that. And I thought that was really good. But I didn't see any black men as members of the cast who had regular speaking roles. And that bothered me, especially for a blockbuster like this, that they couldn't get us anywhere in there in any way, shape, or form. When you look at the range of white men who were in the movie, there was a love interest, there was the Munchkin guy, there was Jeff Goldblum as Oz. I mean, the professors, like there were so many opportunities. There was more animals in there with speaking roles than actual black men, and that's a problem. I remember when I saw Wonka last year. I don't remember everything about the movie, but I remember that there were several different, black men in there, and I feel like they did us wrong as it relates to that, and that was a problem. And to be quite honest, I thought Cynthia Erivo did a great job as she always does. I mean, come on, it's Cynthia, right? And look, obviously with her playing the Wicked Witch of the West, that's a green character. So, and I'm glad that they didn't like do a whole bunch of prosthetics or makeup to mess up like her black features, like it was like pointy nose and all of that stuff. And I hope they don't do that for like part two. So I appreciated the fact that she was still there with her features, but at the same time, I'm a little bit frustrated with the history of Hollywood and that many of our black characters in shows don't play actual black people, or they are, for lack of a better term, colored in some sense. Yeah. So she's green. I'm thinking about Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy with the character of Gamora, who's also green. I'm also thinking about, again, Zoe Saldana, who played Gamora, also an Avatar. Then I'm thinking about the cartoons. I grew up watching cartoons, taking my kids to these movies. I'm thinking about Spies in Disguise, where Will Smith was a fish for most of the movie. I'm thinking about Princess and the Frog, where the characters were frogs for most of the movie, as opposed to black people. So look, and again, this is the Wicked Witch, so we get that. So it's not an individual like attack on this movie. I'm just saying there's a history of seeing black characters in movies and not actually be black in some way, shape, or form. And of course, she was, Cynthia was, or Alphaba, was discriminated against by black people as well, who were laughing at her and stuff. So I just found that problematic. I know that they've already filmed part two, so I'm not optimistic about what I'm going to see as it relates to representation of black men. But I saw, other groups, well represented, or I thought well represented. People within that community do have to speak up on that. Even issues, differences in physical ability, with the sister and the like. So, but as it relates to black men, it was lacking, and so then I go and see Moana too. And to be clear, I'm part of the Pan Africanist diaspora. I believe in the unity of all black people across the world, and I believe that a lot of people in these Asian countries, are black. People don't want to talk about that. So I always looked at Moana, the movie, as kind of like just an extension of, different types of black folks. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. I'm just talking about how I saw it. So, I go in there, and at the end of the movie, when she finally, remember spoilers, at the end of the movie, when they finally lift the island up and other people are allowed to start seeing each other, I was like, yo, like these straight up like continental Africans, arrived on their boats. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And it was a brother, it was like, locks and whatever, Benny Fro, whatever he had. I'm like, all right, something's happening here. Big smiles. It's cool. But they never spoke. And then when they were showing the coming together of sorts of these new communities, it was almost like, my wife and daughters were talking about, it's kind of like almost kind of colonialist in terms of they were just showing these black people stuff from their culture, and it seemed like there was a real exchange going on. And again, nobody spoke. And then during the mid-credit scene, they show Malu, or whatever the evil god's name is, and it's a black man with a fro and everything, but he's evil. So like the darkest characters in the movie, and it's already a movie with dark skinned people, right? But the darkest characters in the movie are evil. And I know that, people like, The Rock has identified himself as, as black in some way, shape, or form. I know he has done that. I don't know about the guy who did the voice of this evil deity, because he's from New Zealand. I don't know if how he identifies. But I'm just like, okay, so they show us some smiling black men who don't speak, and then at the end we only get the evil black person who's some type of deity, black male. And that's just not cool with me. We should be doing better nowadays. And to be quite honest, for a movie like Moana, I would have almost preferred to see none of that at all in terms of representation of black males, if that was all we were going to get. And I feel like when you have these big blockbusters like Wicked and the like, they should do better as it relates to that type of diversity. And they could have had a black man as a love interest, the Munchkin guy who asked the sister out. There were so many opportunities, and we just weren't there. We just weren't present. And so that's why I had to come home. And luckily, I was like, yo, I got 2 more episodes of Cross on Amazon Prime to finish up, because I needed that healthy dose of black maleness. I mean, Cross, for real, they are doing it big, and they did it big time in that show. The way the brothers were represented, I feel like, and I'm interested in what other people feel. I feel like, black women who were in the movie had a range. They were a love interest. They were running organizations. There were the mothers, the grandmother, who holding stuff down. They were in the police force and so on. So I felt like there was a range there. And I'm just saying, like, how hard is it to do that? How hard is it to do that? We are out there. We're helping make these movies make money. I'm looking at the box office, and I think that Moana did something like, it was like the biggest opening ever, or something, to see 221 million, and now Wicked is up to 260 million. Like, can we get up in on some of that? In a good way, especially with everything that's going on right now. It's extremely important that these things happen, that the representation becomes stronger, that representation becomes better, particularly in everything that's going on with so much of the anti-DEI space that we're living in right now. We're probably going to see less of these things as it relates to our representation. I'm already seeing, fewer black males in commercials, and which is a problem. Many of the interracial couples that I see in commercials, it's usually not a black male who's the spouse, and that speaks to it. So I'm thinking of a whole range of things, and like I said earlier, I am interested in how all groups are represented, and it starts with black males. I'm watching a Transformer show on Netflix, and they have a black boy in the show, and it's not even voiced by a black boy. Like, these things are problematic, and I feel like these are things that we should speak on, because these are incredible opportunities for everybody to be out there and take advantage of what these movies have to offer. And as relates to Moana 2 and as relates to Wicked, both movies fell short. I was glad I was able to finish binging on Cross to get what I needed. And I hope Hollywood's paying attention, because it's very frustrating to go to these places and not see ourselves either not represented at all or not represented properly. So I would love to get your thoughts on that. Holler back and let me know what you think. I would appreciate it. I'm here for the discussion. Take care, y'all. Peace.